The Muslims are supposed to always expand and fight. When they encounter non-Muslim populations, they're supposed to tell them to convert to Islam. If they refuse to convert to Islam, they're supposed to say, okay, then you will either become our subjects and pay protection money and do as we say. If you fail to pay, you are fair game and can be killed. If you don't want this arrangement, then you can run or you can fight and die.
How you guys doing? This is Sahar TV, and in today's video we'll see an ex-Muslim exposing the truth about Islam and what made him leave and convert to Christianity. Let's take a look.
Were you raised Muslim?
Yeah.
And where are you from originally?
So I am of Turkish origin and was actually born in Germany to a family of very religious Sunni Muslims of Turkish origin. So they were immigrants in Germany. I was born into that family and was raised under very, very religious, strict standards that were not necessarily always imposed on me. But for example, I wasn't allowed to listen to music at home. The music was bad, forbidden. Haram.
Any kind of music?
No music at all. And it's a weird thing to be. And the thing is, my whole life I loved music. As a child, I had such deep love for music, but at home it's forbidden. I'm not allowed to listen to it. It's very, very, very strange and very conflicting. Was raised with lots of paranoia and hate towards non-Muslims, disbelievers in Germany, in a Christian country.
So when people say that Muslims in places like Iran or other places in the Middle East hate Israel and America, it's because of the Israeli involvement and American involvement in this region. So how come we have a Muslim here that was raised up in Germany with deep hatred towards non-Muslims? He grew up in Germany. He grew up in the West.
There's one thing that I always remember, which is very, very bad. I was in first or second grade or something. I'm a little child, this little child here. Over the weekend, I went to a gathering with my family and their religious group in Germany. And over the weekend, I was basically told eschatological things from the prophecies of Muhammad, which are authentic and which Muslims around the world know of. Over the weekend, I'm told that in the near future, possibly, there will be a time where we Muslims will fight the disbelievers, the Christians, but we will also especially fight the Jews and kill them and eradicate them. And they will hide behind rocks and trees, and the rocks and trees will say, Muslim, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him. And we'll be like, oh, okay. But there's only one tree, which is called the Gargat tree, which is the tree of the Jews, which will not betray them. This might sound a little bit crazy, but this is actually a very authentic, verified narration that goes back to Muhammad. This is a prophecy that he made. He said this must happen before the last hour comes, which is why Muslims around the world believe in this. And I learned this as a child. So I go to school on Monday and tell my friend, these little dumb kids here, tell my friend about these things that are going to happen. And he's like, he's shocked and weird.
Isn't it weird that in Islam you're not allowed to play with dolls because that's like apostasy, but the trees and the stones will speak to you? Isn't that apostasy as well? Why is the Quran and the Hadith contradicting themselves?
Weirded out, but I learned this stuff as a Muslim. So there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, unpack it all. I'm fascinated. I think sometimes when we share our own story, we kind of get sick of the sound of our own voice because we've heard it, but I'm hanging on every word you're saying. Because again, like it's not like they were saying like in an analogical or an allegorical sense that we'll overcome the Muslim. That wasn't what they were saying.
No, it's very, very clear and very strict. And so Islam has very, very clearly laid out prophecies by Muhammad himself that Muslims around the world believe in, and the Quran is also quite clear on how Allah has a problem with the disbelievers. For example, the Quran says in chapter 9, verse 29 and verse 30, that the Muslims are to fight those who don't believe in Allah and the last day and in Muhammad, and who don't adopt the true religion, that means Islam, among the Christians and Jews. So the Christians and Jews specifically, which the Quran calls the people of the book, Jews and Christians specifically are to be fought if they refuse to convert to Islam, and they're supposed to be suppressed and subdued, and they're supposed to made to pay what's called jizya, which is protection money. And this was also historically applied to Christians and Jews and other minorities. So the concept here is the Muslims are supposed to always expand and fight. When they encounter non-Muslim populations, they're supposed to tell them to convert to Islam. If they refuse to convert to Islam, they're supposed to say, okay, then you will either become our subjects and pay protection money and do as we say and follow these and these and these and these and these laws. If you fail to pay, you are fair game and can be killed. If you don't want this arrangement, then you can run or you can fight and die. So
this is just a little preview to what's going to happen if Sharia comes to the United States, to the UK, to Australia, to France. Sharia will be imposed. Jizya will be forced unless you want to convert to Islam. And then you'll go back to my YouTube video if YouTube's still going to exist, because Sharia is probably going to forbid it. And then you're going to go back to this YouTube video where I tell you Islam is coming to the United States. We have to do everything in our power to stop it.
And be enslaved. That's basically the idea. In chapter 30, in verse 30 of the same chapter, so the next verse, it then says, very interestingly, it justifies this animosity and says, the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. This is these are the words that they adopted from those who disbelieved before them. May Allah fight them. How deluded are they? So this is the Quran's perspective on these two different religious groups. You may have noticed I just said it starts with the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, where aside from the animosity, the hostility, the insanity that comes out of the scripture, you can also see that it spouts nonsensical stuff. When you ask Jews, including learned Jews, rabbis, scholars, anyone, what this means, Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, they are usually surprised and like, what are you talking about? Nobody can make any sense of this.
So it's like an overconfident YouTuber just making these statements, but he's saying it like boldly and say, yeah, this guy must know what he's talking about. And then someone fact checks him and is like, this guy's he's not serious.
Yeah, according to the narratives that we have, relating about Muhammad's interactions with Jews and later on with Christians, we see that that Jewish groups that he was interacting with before he eventually ended up massacring or expelling them came to him and asked him questions to test his knowledge, because he wants to convert them and they refuse. So they come and test his knowledge and all that. And sometimes it seems like they were mocking him and kind of, in modern terms, trolling him and asking him questions, like nonsensical questions. And it may be that that they asked him a nonsensical question or said something nonsensical to him just to test how he reacts, and he actually took it seriously. So he started adopting this idea that the Jews actually believe Ezra, or in Arabic it says Uzair, which is interpreted as Ezra, that Ezra is the son of God, and that...
What? The Jews were trolling Muhammad? God, I'm proud of them.
That this is what Jews believe. Now, when you bring up this issue to Muslim apologists and scholars, they try to make all kinds of different excuses about this. Like, oh, this might be referring to a certain group of Jews, and it might be, allegorically, it might refer to some obscure thing, but no, it's not. It actually gets really bad when you look at the things that Muhammad said outside of the Quran. There is an instance where he describes what will happen to the Jews and the Christians in the afterlife. And when it comes to the Christians, he very clearly says, so the Christians will be brought forth by Allah, and they will be asked what they believed. And they will say, we believed in Jesus, the Messiah, who is the Son of God and who is God. And Allah will say, you have lied or you have disbelieved, and he will drop them to hell. Then he brings forth the Jews and says to the Jews, what did you believe? And they say, we believed in Ezra, the son of Allah and God. And he says, you have lied and disbelieved, and he will drop them to hell.
I wonder what's going to happen to the people saying that they believe in Muhammad, the prophet.
This is clearly a general statement about Jews. Mm-hmm. So
this
is one of the big signs where the Quran shows great ignorance, and where you can see that this is not a book that comes from a from an all-knowing divine being that has a message for the world. It comes from an ignorant person in a 7th century Arabian desert who just who gets his knowledge from the people around him without really being able to fact check them. Which is why, by the way, in the Quran, the Quran often defends Muhammad against allegations by people surrounding him, including polytheistic Arabs and others. And it several times it says like, and they say you are a liar, but you are not a liar. They say you're crazy, but you're not crazy. They say these are stories of the old. And it also says, and they call you the ear.
Also, in the Quran itself, the Quraysh tribe in Mecca blames Muhammad for stealing the books and the scriptures of the old people, of the Jews and of the Christians. In the Quran itself, because a lot of principles are very similar to Judaism. They pray 3 times a day, we'll pray 5 times a day. They fast on Yom Kippur, we'll fast on Ramadan. They don't eat pork, we don't eat pork. We'll pray towards the Holy Land because that's what the Jews do, that's what they did. But then the Jews refused to believe that Muhammad is a prophet and that Islam is the religion of truth. He killed a man and took the women and kids as slaves. And then the Qibla changed to Mecca. I don't believe Muhammad is a prophet. I don't believe he's a messenger. Nobody can name a single prophecy that Muhammad brought to the world because there's no prophecy that was fulfilled. How can you be called a prophet if prophecies were not fulfilled?
Which means, so they called him the ear, by which they meant that he just hears stuff and just repeats it. Like he just absorbs whatever he hears and that's it. But this is what the Quran is. And this is the religion that we are facing, an overconfident, ignorant religion full of hostility against those who know better. That's basically what Islam is.
I'll attach the full video in the description below. This conversation takes about 2 hours and 43 minutes. It talks about the story of rejecting Islam, pedophilia, violence, conquest. Seems pretty interesting, so please check out the full video. Subscribe to the channel that posted it. I have to say that I have an issue with Islam. Muhammad died in the year 632. The first biography about Muhammad was only written about 200 years later. It's called the Sirah. How was the biography written, you're asking? By a chain of names. The person that was writing the Sirah, Ibn Hisham, wrote it after hearing a story from this person, who heard a story from this person, who heard a story from this person, and this person was the companion of Muhammad. I don't know if you've ever played the game Telephone, where one person whispers something to another person's ear, and then the word the last guy hears is very different than the word the first guy said. What do you think happens in 200 years? What do you think happens with 600,000 hadiths that were also given to this one person about 230 years after Muhammad's death? How authentic do you think they are? How twisted do you think they are? That's the problem. Islam could be built on a complete lie. Now, I'm not making any accusations. I'm just making you question just a little bit the beginning of this religion. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to support me financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links in the description. And if you'd like to join the Discord, you can do that using the link below. Please don't forget that you can become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.